You can watch Celts Pistons Game 2 tonight on TSN. Now it's time for some drag racing. Stay tuned.
Northern Georgia has seen 3.5 inches of rain in the past 48 hours, but the monsoon-like conditions have not deterred the fans nor the race teams, because it's time for final eliminations in Atlanta. ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports and the exclusive home of the National Hot Rod Association, presents the $50 million NHRA Powerade Drag Racing Series. Today from Atlanta Dragway in Commerce, Georgia, it's the 22nd running of the Summit Racing Equipment NHRA Nationals presented by Pontiac. And as you can see, we've still got overcast skies, but hello again, everybody. Marty Reed along with Mike Dunn, Bill Stevens, Dave Reef, and Parker Johnstone. And we can promise you one thing, we are going to do everything to get the final eliminations in today. In fact, let's start it off with Funny Car. Frustration and failure were everywhere for Whit Bazemore and Cruz through the first 5 races of 2002. That is until last weekend in Bristol, where Whit put together 3 solid days of racing in Thunder Valley to capture his first Wally of the year. Let's check in on first round of Funny Car eliminations. First up was Bob Bodie and Tim Wilkerson. Wilkerson over in the right lane. He's going to take care of business. 489 at 300 miles an hour. And the Levi Ray and Shop Car is hauling the mail. Next up, Gary Dencham, number 1 qualifier, right-hand lane. 482 at 312 miles an hour over tire smoking Dale Creasy. Then it was Whit Bazemore and Del Worsham. Now Bazemore stages deep, but manages to run a 485 at 314 to Del's 494. Watch Tony Pedregon right lane. Look at the speed, 485 on the clock, but 325.69 miles an hour, the 3rd fastest run in NHRA Funny Car history. Can you say second round? Yes, you can. Ron Capps goes up in smoke in the right lane. Todd Payton, he's going to move on with a 505 at 281 miles an hour, and the Skoll team is scratching their heads. On board with Cruz Pedregon. He's in the left lane against Scotty Cannon, and Cruz has yet to run in the 480s this year. Cuts a great light compared to Cannon. And watch this number, 487. He's done it now. 302 miles an hour, Mike Dunn, and this was a nice, smooth, clean pass.
This is a perfect run right down the middle of the groove, 487. Nothing wrong with that run.
Next up, brother Frank Pedregon in the right lane against Dean Scusa. Watch Scusa, he's going to have big problems. Kaboom! 491 for Frankie as he moves on to second round action at 310 miles an hour.
Well, unlike Cruz, this was not a perfect run. Watch the injector. He's going to backpedal when he gets into tire shake. And then watch over here. You're going to see the cylinders go out after the second or third time. At that point, that engine is not very happy. It's not liking what it sees, and that is the end result of that.
You're saying, what about John Force? Well, he was in the last pair, and that brings us to our Army profile. And let's compare a couple of legends of the sports. Take a look at this. The number of races these two guys have qualified in a row for, consecutive, 295 and 284, by far and away, number 1 and number 2. 21 consecutive wins, 16 for John with at least 1 win, and they have each met 29 different drivers that they've defeated in the finals. What about John's run here in first round? Well, he hasn't lost 2 first rounds in a row since 1999, and it didn't happen here. Johnny Gray goes up in smoke. Force motors down the track at 488, 317 miles an hour. John Force is in to the second round. Take a look at the ladder now. Gary Dencham's going to have the lane choice over the boss. Tim Wilkerson over Todd Payton, and on the right side, Tony Pedregon over brother Frank, and Whit Bazemore with the lane choice over Cruz Pedregon. Stay with us. We've got to take a commercial break, but we got a lot more coming your way from Atlanta. Obviously, Larry Dixon did not like the feeling of losing back in Houston because he got his Miller Lite dragster right back on the victory stand in Bristol. These two guys both made an early exit, while this guy proved his car may be ready to rumble. Now let's check in on first round of Top Fuel eliminations. Scott Wise was first up. He'd have the solo run after Rhonda Hartman-Smith. The crew pinched off a line in the gasket. She could not make the call, and Scott just takes it off the line and coasts on down. Then it was John Smith, Rhonda's husband. He was in the right lane against David Grubnick. Grubnick goes up in smoke. John runs a 5:02, 273 miles an hour to advance to second round. Next up, two teams that were struggling all season long. Andrew Cowan looking for win number 1 in 2002. Well, he's still looking. Doug Herbert runs a 4:62 to take his second round victory of 2002. Then up was Larry Dixon. Luigi Novelli, no problem for Larry. 4:68, 3:06 on to round 2. Then it was Doug Kalita and Bobby Lagana. Lagana over in the left lane. Kalita would lay down a 4:58, 322 miles an hour. That would be low for the round, at least until the next car came to the line. Corey McClenathan in the right lane. Darrell Russell in the left lane. The good fortunes of Bristol, not here with Darrell. He's out of here in tire smoke, and Corey Mack runs a 4.585 at 322. That's low VT for the first round. And then the biggest upset so far in Top Fuel this year. Don Sasenka watches Tony Schumacher, goes up in smoke. Sasenka runs a 5:38 at only 222, but he's into second round, Mike Dunn.
Boy, and that's a huge upset for Tony Schumacher. He's going to get in trouble here pretty early in the run. You're going to see the tire shake right here. Watch as that tire starts to waffle there. It's going to go into tire smoke. Now watch the throttle blades up there. You're going to see him backpedaling, trying to get that car to recover. Once the smoke's that hard, it's very, very hard to get 6,000 horsepower back down to the racetrack, and obviously Tony wasn't able to do it on this particular run, and Don Sasenka got the win.
One more time as we go on board. And that brought us to one more run in the first round at Top Fuel. Chris Karamazidis cuts a perfect 4.0 light on Bernstein, but then goes up in smoke. KB runs a 4.62 at 3:18. And that completes round number 1 of Top Fuel here at Atlanta Dragway. Arrow indicates who has the lane choice. Bernstein over Wise, Kalita over Dixon. That's right, Doug's got the lane choice. John Smith over Sasenka, and Corey Mack over Doug Herbert. A lot more Nitro action coming your way here at the NHRA Powerade Drag Racing Series. It's round 7 at 23. Don't you go anywhere.
Well, Marty, one of the great stories today involves Don Sasenka, a Top Fuel team from Spring Branch, Texas. And Don exemplifies the kind of a racer who's out here really just for the love of drag racing. His wife, Lana, suffers from a nerve disorder, dystonia. And, of course, Don helps to publicize that particular disorder and raise public awareness. But other than that, Don, what a thrill for you. Your first ever Top Fuel round win against Tony Schumacher, the 99 Top Fuel champion. You're going to the second round.
It feels great. It really does. But, you know, the guy made a mistake. You can't beat these guys. You know, I mean, they're all super good. He just smoked the tires, and I took it. You know, we know we're a 480 car, and those guys are a 450 car. Multi-million-dollar sponsored, and the best thing about them, they're super nice people. And you know what? In all honesty, I know they're chasing the points. I kind of wish he'd have won because he's a good friend of mine. You know, really.
Well, one of the great things about your team also, Don, is the fact that other teams send some of their guys over here to help out. Who are some of the other teams that are helping you this weekend?
You know, you're going to embarrass me? I don't know. I know we're all a big family out here, and everyone helps everybody, but man, whenever I'm down on Lux, people from Forces Camp will help me. These guys, who are you from?
Grant Flowers. Grant Flowers.
They're from Grant Flowers, and they're helping me today. And man, that's all I know.
I'll tell you, this is drag racing the way that it used to be. Let's go to Dave Reed.
Bill, please excuse Tony Schumacher if he doesn't feel a bit of deja vu. Not confused whether it's 2001 or 2002. This race last year, same kind of thing. Lost to Jim Cavallari in his own race car. Had 3 good qualifying passes, did the U.S. Army car, punctuated by a 4:56, 3:27. But unfortunately, Dan Olson wasn't able to yank the power down enough, Tony, and for that round 1 loss, this is costly.
Yeah, you know, that hurts. Our car's running great. But I think more importantly, we know we have a race car again. We have a very fast race car with a lot of horsepower, and we proved that first round. Got a little aggressive, and you know, we got beat. But really, we beat ourselves, and that's unfortunate, but we got a lot of races left. And now we get to go into it with a real bad hot rod.
Roller coaster weekend for you guys. But like you said, the light's at the end of the tunnel.
Lights at the end of the tunnel. And last year we were struggling without a light down there. We didn't know what to look for. This year we got a bad hot rod. We're going to win races. We owe it to the Army. We owe it to the fans. You know, we owe it to ourselves more than anything with all the testing we've done. And, you know, we got the best team. I wouldn't want to change any single guy in anything we do. We got great people. We got a great race car. We'll stick together and we'll get over the hump.
Sarge ready to take charge. Parker?
Dave, a couple of great matchups in this next round of Funny Cars involving teammates and family. Gary Dencham, number 2 in the points, going up against the boss, John Force. Is it any different going up against the man who owns the operation?
No, you would just try harder. I mean, John is the man, has been the man forever, and do us nothing but good if we could take him out. Obviously, you know, it's not going to be an easy race. He didn't end up with 11 championships by letting people beat him.
Now we're over to the boss, the man who just got that 100th victory this year. The man leading the championship, John Force. I don't know how you go up against racing the boss just like you would face any other competitor. But, John, you're going up against your teammate, the guy who's been one of the quickest all year long.
Well, he definitely is. Seems like he's top speed every meet. Tony Pedregon's right in this hunt, too. And if the three of us with AAA and Syntec and Castrol can whip these guys, that's good. And me and Dencham can't lose this weekend. Just 2 buddies going at it. Jimmy's done a great job over there, and so's Coyle and Bernie. So, God bless him, and I love him, and I just want to get this round over with.
The third member of the Force team, Tony Pedregon. His competition this next round, his brother Frankie driving for Big Jim Dunn. And that rivalry, it exists not only on the track, but off the track. And if Tony advances and brother Cruz advances over Whit Bazemore, then guess what? It's another brother-to-brother matchup.
We've got to take a commercial break. Thanks, guys. Some of the fans taking a look at some of the latest edition of the souvenirs here at Atlanta Dragway. Hello, young man. Round 7 of 23 on the NHRA Powerade Drag Racing Tour. We're at Atlanta Dragway along with Mike Dunn, Bill Stevens, Dave Reed, Parker Johnstone. I'm Marty Reed. We're glad you're with us. And we're in the second round of Top Fuel. And take a look at the ladder right now as Kenny Bernstein's in the backup process. He's up against Scott Wise here. And then it'll be Doug Coletta with the lane choice over Larry Dixon. That's what the arrow indicates. John Smith, Don Sasenka, and Corey Mack up against Doug Herbert here in round number 2 of Top Fuel. Now, KB over in that right lane has never lost to Scott Wise, but we've already seen strange things happen in round number 1.
Oh, definitely. There's been some upsets. You can't count anybody out in drag racing because you still have to get that car down the racetrack, and that's what Tim Richards is going to try to do. Get that car. We talk about it all the time from A to B. He knows if that thing goes go down the track cleanly, more than likely he's going to beat Scott Wise. Although Scott Wise has ran a 450 in the past, but he hasn't done it lately.
KB Motors to a 461 at 323 miles an hour. That backs up his earlier run in the first round of 462. So they are getting some very good consistency on that Forever Red Budweiser King Lucas Oil Top Fueler. Now, while we were in commercial break, let's go back and show you what happened with Don Sasenka and John Smith. Take a look at the front wheels there. It looked like they were a bit askew.
There's a lot of toe in there. Right? What happens here, you have to put the tie rods in front of the front end to get the fuel tank further forward. What that does, it puts a lot of strain on that when it's backing up, causes the wheels to toe in. It should be fine. As he pulls forward, it'll straighten out, and then he can make his run.
Don Sasenka won his first ever round in the first round. Here he was against John Smith just moments ago. Smith in the right lane. And Smith blazes the tires. And Sasenka, even though he has to shut it off early, a 550, he's going to the semifinals. Let's go to Bill Stevens.
With Don Sasenka, who had not won a round in the NHRA until today, and now you got a 2-bagger. Don, how does it feel?
I just got mad at everybody. No, not really. I just got lucky again. Like I said earlier, all these guys are my friends, and they're smoking the tires, and I'm not. I guess I don't have quite as much power as they do, but either way, I'm enjoying this. I really am. I'm just a very lucky man today. And thank Powerade for sponsoring NHRA and my wife, Lana, for putting up with me.
That's a pretty good car, too. Don Lamps' old car from about 4 years ago. He ran in the IHRA.
Thanks, Bill. And you notice all the grease all the way up to his elbows. This is old school. He works on the car himself. He drives it. He doesn't even have time to go talk to any fans.
Well, that's the way it's always been. In the old days, all the drivers used to work on their own race cars. But, you know, with the big sponsors and all the public appearances you have to make, that's kind of gone by the wayside. But so it's nice to see that again.
Well, for Cinderella, the clock has yet to strike midnight. Next up, Corey McClenathan and Doug Herbert. Dave Reed.
And for Corey Mack, Marty, it's his last Sunday as a single man. He is officially off the bachelor's list coming up next Saturday, May 11th, when he will marry one of his high school friends from nearly 20 years, Amy, out in California. So we want to wish them congratulations. And as far as a little honeymoon, they're heading to Englishtown the week after.
Corey over in the right-hand lane. Doug Herbert picked up his second round win of 2002 in the first round by taking out Andrew Cowan. Corey, a two-time winner here. Uh-oh. Big upset. Doug Herbert, Johnny West, and the guys can celebrate. They're going to their first semifinal. Herbert with a 471 takes out Corey Mack.
Boy, this is a big upset. I wouldn't have bet on this before this run. You're going to see Doug Herbert there on the right-hand side. He gets there through there cleanly. Corey McClanton, on the other hand, spun the tires. Let's see if Doug shakes the tires any right. Watch the bottom of the tire right there. Boy, that's nice and flat. Got that good contact area. Would allowed him to just get through that point where I'm sure Corey had a problem with the tires shake and smoke the tires.
Take a look at the crew reaction. In 18 prior matchups, Corey has won 12 times. Let's go to Bill.
Kenny Bernstein ran a 461 that time, a 462 in the first round. But as we just saw, Kenny, you can't take anybody lightly out here today.
No, it's a pretty even racetrack, and the guys have really stepped up this weekend and gotten that tire figured out, and they're getting real competitive. But we'll just do the best we can with the Bud King, try to make her go.
Kenny was here when we saw Corey McClenathan just drop that round to Doug Herbert.
And for Doug Herbert, his last semifinal, Sears Point, last year. There's Doug Kalitta. He's the final pair, making up this second round action. He'll be up against the points leader, Larry Dixon. And right now, Kenny Bernstein is the biggest Doug Kalitta fan on the block. Remember, lane choice to Kalitta, so he has put Dixon in the left lane.
And guys, drag racing is about to get very, very fun. Gone is the checkers game in the chess game because the weather is finally breaking. The National Weather Service told us it would sometime this afternoon. And as you can see, we have shed our coats. Gone are the mid-50s, now up to the mid-70s. Track temperatures that were once in the 70s are now in the mid-80s. Corrected altitudes are coming up. And as this sunshine comes out more and more, the fans are going to get quite a treat. And the crew chiefs are going to have to work their tails off, Bill.
Yeah, Doug Herbert could give us a good weather report because he's sky high right now. How does it feel?
Always feels good. I'll tell you what, well, Corey and Cerny are tough characters, and just luckily with a Snap-on Tools car, we looks like we got what it takes today, and we're just happy to be here. And this is one of the closest races to home, so it's nice to turn around and do well here.
Could be a turnaround for these guys.
Had a lot of surprises today in Townsville. Will Doug Kalitta give us another one? Remember, Larry Dixon has won 4 times in 6 races this year. Been to the finals 5 out of the 6. In fact, he's only lost in round 1 once. And that was what allowed everybody to sort of gathering back up into the points chase a little bit. This is a big, big round for both these cars.
So the key here is track temperature. As that sun comes out, big Goodyear tires, you have to make a big change to get them to hook up when the heat's out. But still cool enough that I think you'll see some good times.
Dixon says, I don't care what lane you put me in. 458, 321. That's low ET of the round. Kalitta runs a very nice 460 at 318. In fact, that 460 against everybody else would have advanced him. Dave Reef.
And Dick LaHaye, how big of a statement was that? 458, 321? Wow.
Well, you know, you can't take those guys lightly. And, I mean, they'd run 58 first round. And it's getting a little warmer. And we were very fortunate to put that number up. But it took a lot of thinking on everybody's part.
Now that the sun's coming out, he's going to have to be doing a lot more that morning.
You know, this is a perfect run for the conditions. You saw a little bit of tire shake, but not enough. Kept the tire flat. You know, next round, like Dick LaHaye said, he's probably going to have to make some adjustments. If that stunt comes out, he's not going to be able to be that aggressive.
And as Larry gets out of the car, we can tell you about the semifinals. Surprise, surprise! The beer wagon's going to go to war again in the semifinals. Lane choice is going to go to Dixon, and the lane choice with Doug Herbert over Don Sasenka. Stay with us. We've got to take a commercial break. Summit Racing Equipment NHRA Nationals. It's Gary Dencham meeting up with the boss again. He's got the lane choice. Tony against Frank Pedregon. And the one we're getting ready to look at, Bazemore against Cruz Pedregon. And Cruz going to be over in that left-hand lane. He won here in 1998 over John Force. The last time these two guys hooked up, Bazemore beat Cruz back in Indianapolis in 2000.
But Cruz Pedregon has never looked better. You know, this car has ran very well all year. They've had trouble with it backfiring the blower, but it seems like when that doesn't do that, the cars ran very well. That great 487 in the first round showed that they can run with the big boys. But with Bazemore, with lead beard power, it's going to be tough to beat. This should be a good matchup.
Dead even off the line. Right at the stripe, Bazemore with the 488, 316. Cruz with a little bit of smoke, a puff, right between the 1,000-foot mark and the finish line, and that's what cost him the race.
Watch this. Cruz was 300ths ahead at half track right there. You're going to see the motor start to go away just before the finish line. The smoke, it starts eating itself, and that was just enough for Whit Bazemore to get by for the win. From down track, once again, right at half track, Cruz is still in the lead, starts eating the motor up, and that allowed Whit Bazemore to get by for the win. Watch this, down track right here is going to lay over, and there you see Whit Bazemore go by, and that's a sinking feeling when you're inside that race car.
Take a look at the intervals. A slight, very slight advantage off the line for Cruz. 60-foot mark, and as you said, at 660. But then at the finish line, the arrow indicates Bazemore 488. Now, while we were in commercial break, let's go back. Tim Wilkerson had a bye run. It's a good thing because he hazed the tires right off the line. Todd Payton could not make the call, and he ended up shimmying all the way down the track, but he has advanced. What happened to Todd Payton, Dave?
Well, unfortunately, Todd had a little bit too much motor damage from the previous round when he beat Ron Capps. It's something this team is struggling with. And as far as Tim Wilkerson goes, it happened yesterday, too, very similarly in the last qualifying pass. The car actually plants so hard on the wheelie bar, it just totally upsets the car and spins the tires. All they got to do is just that wheelie bar, it looks like.
Thanks, Dave. And you're on board right now with John Force as he is backing up after the burnout to half track. Parker?
Well, Marty, this is the first time these teammates have met this year. They're first and second in the championship. I went to Bernie Federley, Austin Coyle, the brain trust behind this operation, and asked them who gets what and why. And they said, hey, we're going to give both guys the same equipment, may the better driver win. But as this season goes on, if it does come down to the championship points title, we might be having to make some tough decisions at that time. Bill?
Well, I mentioned to Whit Bazemore after his first round win that he had a 562 light, and he said, no biggie, a 474 light, 300. You beat Cruz in the best drag race we've seen today.
Oh, that's great. You know, I tell you, El Cruiser, he's doing a pretty good job with his own team, and that's awfully hard to do, believe me. But I tell you, the better this Matco car runs, I think for me, the harder it is to win. And this morning I made a big mistake up there, and we just can't win races doing that kind of thing. We got lucky, and can't let it happen again. So hopefully we have two more where I can prove myself and make up for it.
Wouldn't bet against it.
Top bulbs lit. Here we go. Oh, and at the stripe, the win light goes to Force. Identical 524s, and the points lead between number 1 and 2 just lengthened by 20. Let's take another look. I thought Dencham had this one in the bag, and then at the stripe.
You and me both, Marty. I thought this was all over. Gary Dencham. Force got a little bit of a jump. You see a cylinder go out there on the left side of that car, which caused him to lose some horsepower. By then, Gary Dencham's long gone, but there you see something went away. He had to shut it off, and John just comes by right at the end. The reaction time made the difference because they both ran 524. There it is. You see the cylinder out, pushing John towards the center. Was able to stay with it, though, keep it off that center line, and get the win.
John had 2 100ths advantage at the starting line. He needed every bit of it. Take a look. There's the advantage off the starting line. And at the finish, identical 524s, but Force was first to the line. Dave Reed.
Bernie Federley, you guys just dodged a very major bullet there. I don't know what happened to Dencham's car, but you guys are lucky to get by that one.
Yeah, both cars had problems, apparently. I looked over and saw Dencham's car blowing raw fuel, and John's was a mess, too. So, just a couple of bad runs.
What has been the struggles with John this weekend?
I'm sorry, biggest problem was shaking, but we thought we had a handle on that.
You know, John, it's amazing how you guys can stage these things, Identical 524s, better reaction time. He had you, you nipped him. And Gary Densham just found out who won the race.
I didn't know. It was pretty close. We were both just kind of coasting. And I don't know what happened to him yet, but AAA and Castrol Ford, Mac Tool, pay us to get in the winner's circle. One way or the other, we still should leave here with a points lead. We can stop Bazemore.
Pretty awesome.
Well, the points margin was 45 coming in between Force and Gary Densham. And obviously, John's going to start picking up some more points, so it's going to go up a little bit more by the end of the day. Now we're going to have the battle of the Pedregon family. It'll be Frank versus Tony, and you would think, if I said who had the advantage head-to-head, who would you say?
I would probably have to say Tony.
Well, believe it or not, they are dead spot even. They've each won half of their matchups. Parker?
Well, Marty, I was talking to Lee Barrett after Whit Bazemore snuck by Cruz, and he said, we figured Cruz had it out for us since it was Cinco de Mayo. So how does that play into the hands when you've got two brothers named Pedregon racing against each other?
Tony, of course, won back here in 1996. Frank Pedregon, the defending race champion. He was in the CSK blue car. Here's the win by lanes right now, and the right lane has been the lane of choice.
And that's usually going to be the case in the earlier rounds because the better cars are going to take the right lane, and that doesn't necessarily mean there's a big difference in the lanes, and I don't think there is because we've seen in qualifying some good side-by-side racing. John Dunn there bringing Frank Pedregon into state. Frank's car's been very, very good early in the run. They can't seem to run the big numbers through the middle of the other end to keep up with Tony Pedregon, but if they can get out there and get it going and Tony has a little bit of trouble, watch out.
Frankie got him. 499 at 305, and something happened to Tony's car because remember, he set a new track record at 325.69 last round. He could only muster 292 miles an hour this time down the track.
You're going to see Tony had a cylinder out right over there, right at the hit of the throttle, which allowed Frank Pedregon to get that jump early in the run and get the win.
So take a look, and the lane choice goes to John Force over Tim Wilkerson, and Whit Bazemore over Frank Pedregon. Oh, we got big fire down in Tony's car at the far end of the racetrack, and the safety safari putting it out as the body was even on fire. Bill?
Tony Pedregon just got out of the car. The car just erupted in flames about 300 or 400 feet past the finish line, and he's very frustrated, very upset. He got out of the car really before most of the flames got to a point where they endangered him at all. And Tony, that was a rough one. I mean, you ran so well in the last round, and then everything just sort of came apart on you that time. Any idea what happened?
Well, it felt like it dropped a cylinder, and just disappointed about losing. But keep my chin up. Did a little damage to the car, and I knew it was nosing over, and I didn't see the other car for a little while, and just kind of kept my foot in it and, hoped that it would make it. But, it didn't. And, those things happen, and we'll just pull for John and the rest of the team.
Glad you're okay.
If you don't think there's rivalry between the Pedregon brothers, there is. They want to beat each other. The only time they'll turn on you is if you start picking on one of them. Stay with us.
Well, this truly is one of the most amazing stories that we have covered this year on the 2002 NHRA Trail. Not only did Don Cisenka and the Mr. Magoo Dragster win his first round of competition ever today, he is going to the semifinals where he will race Doug Herbert. But the best part of this story, all of the help that Don Cisenka and his family is getting. His wife Lana, his son Joey work on the car, but Luigi Novelli is down here. Some of the guys from Frank Farndon's Top Fuel team is helping out. Some of Bobby Lagana's team is over here helping get Mr. Magoo ready for the semifinal matchup. It's really great to see the way that the drag racing community pulls together to help out a guy who basically runs a used car, borrowed parts, the parts that other teams actually throw away that have no more use for, sometimes wind up on this automobile. We really wish this team a lot of luck today. Already they have far exceeded their own expectations.
Well, the big matchup of the semifinals, heck for the championship, is Dixon versus Bernstein. Super tuner Dick LaHaye versus Tim Richards. And Dick LaHaye, really, it's not so much Bernstein that's a big competitor, but the weather, because we're seeing blue sky and hot temperatures for the first time this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a 180-degree turnaround. We're going from 70-degree track temperatures to probably, I'm going to say it's going to be approaching 120. And I mean, all the competitors are tough. Anybody can win these rounds, and we're just going to try not to beat ourselves.
This team has proved itself to be the utmost, not only in speed, but consistency.
What a difference a couple hours make for John Force's three-car funny car team. Remember the first round? All three of the cars got down the racetrack with no trouble whatsoever. In fact, Tony Pedregon set a new track speed record when he went 325 miles an hour. Then everything started coming apart in the second round. None of the Force cars get down the racetrack without some kind of mechanical injury. I just spoke to John Force's crew chief, Austin Coyle. He said one of the problems is that none of the data they collected during qualifying really is of any significance because the conditions have changed. The data from last year doesn't work because they didn't have the new Goodyear tire. He said in this next round against Tim Wilkerson, whoever gauges the track condition best will probably win the race.
Well, Bill, if Curad made Band-Aids for race cars, Tim Wilkerson would be keeping them in business. This is the side of the Levi Ray and Shoup car. You can see the three places they had to put a little, well, epoxy, a little stuff on there to make sure this car gets down the racetrack. But, Tim, the Band-Aids don't stop there. We've been struggling with this race car today, but despite that, we're to the semis.
Well, we lost our consistency. There's no doubt about it. I hope the bang in the wall didn't upset the whole car, but you know, we're just doing the best we can do. And for some reason, this track is really throwing me a curve. I cannot get it figured out, but made some changes for the semis, and we got to race John. Not really worried about that. We're just going to out there and race the racetrack. We got to figure out how to run our car.
To a stupid layman like me, it looks like the car is really hitting the wheelie bar hard and unloading everything.
Well, the motor's over center, and that's the biggest problem. We're hopped up to beat the band, and the more I back it up, the more it seems like it don't care. So things are going to be good for the semis. I anticipate going down the track, try to go 495. If John beats us, he can have it.
Despite all of this, though, you are very, very close to the top 10. Well, not starting in 3 races, so things are on the up there.
Hey, we're having fun out here. You know, I scraped my sponsor's name off the side. Dick, I'm sorry about that. We'll get you put back on there, buddy. Thanks a lot.
Well, the key is these guys are having a lot of fun despite the Band-Aids that are on the side of this race car.
The big matchup this weekend in Top Fuel, Larry Dixon and Kenny Bernstein. I'm with the #1 qualifier. We've seen nothing but overcast and drizzle all weekend long. You said last night today would be completely different, and it is.
Well, it is now. The first 2 rounds were a little bit in the shade still, but now it's sunshine time, and it's tough out here because none of us have made a run. You know, I have to say Dixon's car is used to this a little bit better than we are, but I think Tim Richards is up for it, and I hope I am, and if we are, we'll try to do the best we can.
Well, you guys are really hooked up now, and it looks like even with the changing track conditions we had in difficult conditions earlier in the week, that you guys were always right on top of it.
Well, we felt like we gained a little bit on the better track conditions that we saw over in Bristol in the nighttime session that we stayed over on Monday and did some testing, and it helped us out, and I think it helped us here. But again, right now we're back to that old sunshine deal, and it's a different game entirely.
The battle of the red car and the blue car continues. I can't wait to see how it turns out.
And neither can we, Parker. You're on board with Cruz Pedregon, and he's the subject of our Powerade profile when we come back. Back here at round 7 of the NHRA Powerade Drag Racing Series, there's Cruz Pedregon. You know, growing up, Cruz wanted to own his own race team, and after taking a year off to try out the announcer's booth, well, he returned to the cockpit as an owner-driver this season. We caught up with the cruiser at his home in California, asked him about life growing up and his transition to team owner.
Growing up as a child, we remember my dad racing. My brothers and I talk about it all the time, that he was a hard racer, and he was a guy that was definitely could do the job. He just was very underfunded, and he was one of those guys. He was raising 5 kids, so you can imagine. My dad was working during the week and on the weekends racing. And about the time we were becoming of age to know what race cars were like, my dad retired from racing completely. So my dad instantly went into owning a trucking company, and we had a big yard where we had all this equipment. And so my life has always evolved around driving. I started off driving forklifts. I mean, I couldn't even hardly reach the pedals, and I was driving. I was always fascinated with driving. I was out running a road grader, backhoes. This guy was impressed because I was pretty good on that grader. I mean, I had that blade down there, and I was doing some serious cutting on the dirt. And he said, "Yeah, I'd like to hire you to operate my grader." And my dad pulled me to the side, and he looked me in the eyes and said, "You know what? I don't want you to do that. This grader is your grader. It's your brother's grader. This is us. If you just look at that, you'll understand why I'm where I am." I've always wanted to own my own team. You know, that's just me. When you're a driver, you're only in control of the steering wheel, so to speak, and the throttle. And I want to be in control of more than that. I want to be here for a lot of years, and owning my team is one way to assure that position. And the other thing I'm thinking of down the road is, to involve my brothers in my team. If there's a way we can somehow incorporate that, what that'll do is assure the Pedregon name for many years to come.
And ramping up the new team, well, in 7 races, Cruz has won 2 out of 8 rounds, and one time he did not make the field, and that was at Las Vegas. Time for us now to shift gears for today's Suzuki Track Fact. Track Fact is brought to you by Suzuki Motorcycles.
Quicker and faster is the name of the game, but as you go quicker and faster, there are more and more safety precautions you must take. Take a sportsman category car, for instance, that runs 11.99 seconds or quicker. You have to have a roll bar. Go to the 999 category, you have to have a roll cage. Anything above 150 miles per hour has to have a parachute. And now, as of Gainesville this year, the NHRA has told our Pro Stock automobile class, you guys have to have 2. Well, there's no real hard and fast reasons why. Let me show you a pretty good example of why they've made this change. This is Darrell Alderman in Pomona, making a qualifying pass. Just past the quarter-mile mark, he hits the chutes. It gets caught up in the wheelie bar. Darrell Alderman slides all the way into the sand trap, the only time he's ever been in that situation. So 2 parachutes in this case, very, very good, especially 680 more than 200. But how do these chutes get launched into the air? Well, there are 2 methods. The first is a tried and true spring method. It's been this way since the beginning of drag racing. Spring gets compressed, 100 pounds of pressure, the chute goes in on top, Gerald pulls the handle, it's blossomed into the breeze. The other application can be found on Gene Wilson's car. It's not spring-loaded, rather air compressed. Same philosophy, but instead using air pressurized to about 150 pounds in this cylinder. It forces this out, the chute comes out, and hopefully it catches the car's draft and opens up. Bottom line, quicker and faster is very, very important, but not as important as stopping.
Thanks, Dave. Hey, guys, bring some ice cream for Mike Dunn and yours truly. We'd love it. Hey, we've got more action coming up. Pro Stock Factory Hot Rods. No channel surfing allowed. Back here at Atlanta Dragway, if you weren't with us last night, you're saying, hey, wait a minute, whatever happened to Tommy Johnson Jr.? Well, this was his last qualifying attempt late into the evening, and the Skull Blue Camaro went big time kaboom right about here. And TJ somehow managed to get the car stopped, and he was okay, but the car was a mess. Now, let's show you what happened in round 1 of Pro Stock. Jake Coughlin in the right lane. You're saying, wait a minute, he's going to get beat by Mark Osborne? Well, you didn't see it, but Osborne went red. Jake ran a 686 at 199 miles an hour. That brought up Darrell Alderman and Ron Krischer. Krischer closest to you in the right lane, and Alderman will run a 688 at 201. And watch Krischer. He gets all kinds of sideways. Krischer, usually real good on race day. 702 is the best he can muster here at only 199. Then it's Mark Wisnett and Kurt Johnson. For Wisnett, this is his hometown track. He's going to get taken out, though, by KJ. It's his hometown track as well. Kurt runs a 685, 200 miles an hour. Then watch V. Gaines in the far lane. Watch the reaction time. It is like, let's go take a nap. Okay, now you can go, V. A little too late, though. Gene Wilson wins his first ever NHRA drag racing round, 686 at 199 miles an hour. Next up, a dandy of a race. Watch how close this one is between Troy Coughlin over in the left lane and Jim Yates closest to you in the right lane. They both run 686. Yates just gets to the line by 3/1000ths of a second. His ET is quicker. They both run 200 miles an hour. Then you want to see a track record, both ends? Well, watch the guy closest to you, Warren Johnson. This is his hometown track as well. 6.811 seconds, 202.61 miles an hour. And Mark Powick, it's his title sponsor's event, but he's gone in round number 1, thanks to the professor. Tom Lee up next against Alan Johnson. And Alan Johnson will run a 686 at 200 miles an hour. Tom runs a 691 at 199. It was close, but Alan takes the win light. And then the final pair in round number 1 of Pro Stock would pit Bruce Allen against Greg Anderson. Bruce Allen over in the left lane. Number 1 qualifier for 2 years in a row. Greg Anderson in the right lane. And it was Greg, 683, 201, taking out Bruce's 689. So So that took care of Pro Stock, the factory hot rods for round number 1. You're saying, wait a minute, what about Pro Stock Bike? Well, we'll show you round number 1 there as well. Terry Kaiser, Mike Barry. Kaiser in the left lane, Barry in the right lane, and Barry's going to take the win. 7:37 at 181 to Kaiser's 7:40. Next up, it would be Steve Johnson in the left lane. Reggie Showers over in the right lane. Johnson was first off the line, but Reggie Showers would drive around him. A 7:26 at 183 miles an hour was good enough to send Reggie into second round action. Then it would be Michael Phillips and Craig Treble. Treble has yet to lose a round this year. He's 8-0 in competition. He's a little tardy on the light, but he's got plenty of horsepower. He runs a 7:19, drives right around Phillips, 181 miles an hour. 7:32 was the best Michael could muster. That's not good enough. Tommy Grimes qualifies for his first ever NHRA Pro Stock Bike drag race. Guess what? He gets to face Angel Savoie, and guess what Angel lays on him? A new track ET record. She's closest to you in the right-hand lane. Angel lays down a 7.113. 186 mile an hour rip, and Grimes just says, wow, that's too good for me. Next up, it would be Tom Maselli and Matt Hines. Hines has been living in the teens, as has Angel all weekend. He's the number 2 qualifier. He's in the left lane. Here, he runs a 7:20 to Tom's 7:29. Hines' speed, 187 miles an hour. Then next up would be Gino Scali over in the left lane. Antron Brown over in the right lane. Oh, red light. Scali throws it away. Antron runs 7:16 at 186 miles an hour. Next up, Sam Hurwitz and John Smith. Talk about another red light? Yeah. John Smith goes 7:27 at 183 miles an hour to advance to second round. One more pair, and that'll be Joe DeSantis over in the left lane. Sean Gann closest to you in the right lane. And Gann lays down a real nice one. 7:14, 188. DeSantis gave it all he could, but a 7:37, just not good enough. We've got to go to commercial break. You're going to see some pictures of the guys. Old photos. There's Larry Dixon. And guys like John Force. And Kenny Bernstein. And a guy by the name of Mike Dunn. Stay with us. We're coming right back to Atlanta Dragway. Back here at the Summit Racing Equipment NHRA Nationals presented by Pontiac. Glad you're with us. And we're getting ready for round 2 action of the factory hot rods. It's definitely going to be a Johnson going on to the semis. Will it be Alan Johnson or Kurt Johnson? You thought I was going to say Warren. Well, that will have to wait for a little while. Alan Johnson, who got his first round win since Sears Point in round number 1, does it on a hole shot and gets number 2, a 689 to the quicker but losing 687. He had 3 100ths in the bank off the starting line. So Alan Johnson going to the semifinals. And while we were in commercial break, we had our first pair of pro stockers going down the track. It was Jim Yates closest to you in the right-hand lane. Gene Wilson over in the left lane. Look at the reaction times, 443 to 468. Yates, it's going to be important because you got another hole shot, a 690. Yates needed it. He beats the quicker but losing 688 of Gene Wilson. Take a look at the ladder right now. You can see that we've still got Jake Coughlin and Mr. Anderson, Greg Anderson coming up. And here is WJ and Darrell Alderman, both prior winners this year. In fact, they're the only ones left in the field. We go on board with Jake Coughlin, the 2000 winner here, and Greg Anderson, our pole sitter over in the right-hand lane the last 2 years at this track. In fact, he was the runner-up here last season. So good matchup here. Reaction time, again, going to be important.
Could be a little staging duel here. Both these guys are very good on the tree, but doesn't look like either one wants to go in first.
Greg goes in first. Uh-oh, something happens. Jake rolled through the lights and red lit, or maybe never even rolled in. The win light, 684 to Greg Anderson at 201. I looked down at the scoring monitor, and let's take another look at it. Maybe the auto timer ran out on him.
Well, I think that's exactly what happened, Marty. The rule is you have 7 seconds after the other person staged. Greg Anderson staged there. If Jeg does not pull in within 7 seconds, the tree automatically gives you the red light and gave Greg Anderson the win.
There's starter Rick Stewart. Look at him counting. He knows it's going to happen. Let's go to Bill.
Well, for the first time since the spring Las Vegas race last year, Alan Johnson, you're going to the semis, and you did it on a hole shot. Your 89 beat Kurt's 687.
Oh, well, that's great. Yeah, it's been a long year. You know, we started the Hemi program. It's taken us about a year to get that thing off the ground. Anytime you race Kurt, you're racing a great driver, so you have to cut a good light. But, man, that track's slick. I spun from third gear to the finish line. It, you know, thank the Lord, just stayed straight.
Well, he doesn't talk very fast, but his car sure flies.
Thanks, Bill. Back at the starting line, you're looking at the track record. Last 3 times down the track, WJ has lowered the mark. It's now at a 681 and 202.61 miles an hour. Bill, you got more?
Well, I just wanted to remind you guys that there's something about this racetrack and auto start. Remember last year in qualifying when Darrell Alderman and Mark Osborne were coming to the starting line and Osborne bumped in so fast, Alderman got counted out for 2 years in a row. An auto start victim here in Atlanta.
Darrell Alderman, he's over in that left lane against WJ. These guys don't like each other. Who's going to win it? At the stripe, Alderman, 688, another hole shot. He had 2 100s in the bank. He needed it. WJ ran a 687 at 202 miles an hour. Take another look.
Well, this was a great side-by-side race like you always see in pro stock. WJ, 202 miles per hour on a hot, greasy track. The sun's out right now, but he didn't have it early in the run. Darrell Alderman got the jump, ran away early, and got the win.
Greg Anderson has the lane choice over Jim Yates, and then it is Darrell Alderman. 3rd time this year he has taken out WJ on a hole shot. He has lane choice over Alan Johnson. Dave Reed.
Very quiet pit down here in Gary Densham, AAA Southern California car. Gary inside the lounge already relaxing after a very emotional loss to John Force. Jimmy Prock has been able to come back and look at some of the computer data from the race car, and nothing can be pinpointed right now. They do know one thing, though, that pretty much all of the ignition quit on that race car about 3.5 seconds. They also dropped a couple of cylinders, but Gary had absolutely no idea what was going on, what happened, and they're still trying to pinpoint that problem. Most of the guys over helping out on John's car.
What they also dropped was a chance to take the points lead. That's right, Gary Densham could have led the points for the first time in his funny car career, but that's going to have to wait. Pro Stock Bikes when we come back. Starting line now, Antron Brown over in the right-hand lane. John Smith over on the left side. Last time out, John had a 102 consecutive race qualifying streak snapped. He has rebounded to get back into this show. That was the 3rd longest. He's quicker off the line by a bunch. And at the stripe, he's going to take the win like John Smith in a big hole shot. 727 to the quicker 719. He had 9 100s in the bank when he left the starting line. And that could be the last time we see Antron Brown this year, unless he gets some more sponsorship. Now, while we were in commercial break, Matt Hines came to the line against Reggie Showers. Hines closest to you in the right lane. Reggie Showers, he had a big advantage off the starting line. Almost 700. But Matt Hines was going to be able to drive around him in a 717 at 186 miles an hour. So Matt Hines advances to the semifinals. Take a look. Here's the way it shapes up in round 2. Still to come. Angel Savoy with the lane choice over Mike Berry. Sean Gann with the choice over Craig Treble. And then it's Hines and Smith already matching up. And Hines is going to have the lane choice over Mr. Smith. And that brings us down to Sean Gann and Craig Treble. Treble is undefeated in 8 rounds of Pro Stock Bike competition. He's won both races this year. He's got his hands full this time.
Yeah, but he'd like nothing better to keep that streak alive, and he's been running very well. Sean Gann's not going to be any easy task.
At the stripe, Sean Gann runs a 717. He ran a career best 714 in the opening round, and he has just handed Craig Treble, the points leader, his first defeat of 2002. Bill?
with Darrell Alderman, who saw his teammate Gene Wilson losing a whole shot. A little payback on Warren Johnson, and that was quite a run, Darrell.
It was. You know, I was really sweating him. He'd run an 81 the round before, but these guys are unbelievable. Ricky reads the track good, and I had a good car that time.
Talking about Ricky Smith, who works on the team, and he does know how to read a racetrack.
And it looks like we're going to have the battle of the slow talkers in that semifinal. Darrell Alderman and Alan Johnson got that slow southern drawl, but boy, they sure do know how to go fast. Angelle Savoie now, as she comes to the lane, and in case you're just tuning in and you haven't seen the new CVEC colors, that is her new sponsorship. Over in the left lane, it'll be Mike Berry. Mike's got a tough task. Angel's really been cranking out the numbers. She's been living in the teens.
But, you know, we just saw Craig Treble get beaten. He'd been undefeated going in. It looked like he lost high gear, and that's what cost him the race. Angelle, if she makes a perfect run, she's going to be very tough to beat, though.
That 7:11 she had in the first round is the 6th quickest time in Pro Stock Bike history. And she just cut a 4:03 light. There's that bump. Didn't affect her. 7:16 at 185 miles an hour. And poor Mike Berry just didn't have enough. And let's take another look as Angelle comes across that transition area.
As we're going to see it from the concrete to the asphalt, she's been doing it every run. Gets that bike loose, and that back tire just kind of washes out from underneath her. Not as bad as we've seen in the past, but still thing moves pretty good. That's actually one of the better runs she's made through that transition that we've seen, but it wasn't too bad.
Let's go to Parker Johnstone back in the pits.
Well, Marty, last year the Funny Car Championship came down to John Force and this driver, Whit Bazemore. It was the mid-season of the year, though, where you really came on strong. You qualified number 1 9 out of the last 12 events, but significantly, you didn't win your first round until 15 events in. Seems to be on the roll now that you won at Bristol last week, and you're going to the semis.
I tell you, you know, Parker, anytime you go to the semis, you're having a pretty good day. And you're right, this team, we struggled earlier this year, but we've struggled early every year of my career, it seems like. So for Matco this year, we're winning sooner than we've ever won before at Bristol last week. And I think that's fairly significant. And it's up to us to keep that momentum going and keep our car strong and running well. And if we can do that, then, you know, maybe we'll be a stronger contender than we've ever been for the championship. And that's certainly our goal.
Whit and crew chief Lee Beer got momentum on their side. Dave?
Well, Parker, last week in Bristol, it was Darrell Russell who doubled his round win total en route to the final. This week, it's Doug Herbert doing the same. You've now got 3 run wins, 2 of them coming here this week. But I guarantee one thing. I'll bet you're not going to take Don Cisenka lightly like maybe Corey Mack and Tony Schumacher did.
Yeah, well, you can't, because you know what? He'll go down the track. So you can't. You just got to go up there and not make a mistake and race Don Cisenka. They're doing a job getting down the track, and that's 90% of winning these drag races.
You guys have made a quick team change. Johnny West now calling the shots. How are things coming along?
Well, Johnny's been calling the shots for a little while, but we're just kind of made some internal changes, and it's working good. We're just happy, and we need to get the Snap-on car down the track so we can get on TV.
Semi-final bound, Bill.
Angelle, you're having quite the weekend. Announced a new sponsor, qualify number 1, going to the semis.
I'm just glad to keep going rounds. You know, my new CVEC family's here this weekend. Gary Cornwell, I hope, is smiling really, really big, because this CVEC Suzuki is one bad motor scooter. And to everybody at Angel's Motorsports, sorry y'all aren't here.
Well, let's set the matchups for you in the semifinals now in Pro Stock Bike. It will be with the lane choice, Angelle Savoie over Sean Gann by 1/100th. The other matchup, Matt Hines has the choice over John Smith. Shake the earth at 2.0 on the Richter scale. Well, that's what we're going to do with Don Cisenka and Doug Herbert. They're the first pair up, and there is the Snap-on Tool dragster. Herbert looking to go to his 13th final round of his career. The guy on the other side, he's never even been in this territory before, let alone wondering about whether he's going to his first final. Don Cisenka, the Cinderella story of this 2002 Atlanta race. Mr. Magoo in the left lane, Doug Herbert in the right lane. Well, despite the tire smoke, midnight had struck for Don Cisenka's team. 5:02 at 2:82. It wasn't pretty, but Doug Herbert is in to his 13th career final.
Well, you know, you could say Doug Herbert got a break, but he ran a 5.02 smoking the tires. He backpedaled, did a great job, got back in and spun the tires hard, but that was plenty enough to beat Don Sasenka. Here we watch Don on instant replay. He's coming down through there, no tire shape, but car just doesn't make that kind of horsepower. He realized he backpedaled at one time and realized there was a problem.
Tip of the hat, though, to Don Sasenka and the team and all the help they got from all the other crews back in the pits. Let's go to Dave Reef.
Down here where the cars are just firing up. Johnny, you guys just said you wanted to go up there and do your own thing. Well, it wasn't close, but are you guys coming into your own now?
We're just trying to go 270 at half track to keep up with Timmy and Kenny. You know, that's going to be a tough route, so we had to see what it would take.
He said he's trying to keep up with these two cars. We'll see which one of them's going to face him in the final.
Yeah, I know you couldn't hear him, but we could. The other Top Fuel semifinal, it's the Battle of the Beer Wagons, Dixon, Bernstein, and here we go. Larry Dixon's going to be over in that right-hand lane. The Miller Lite, Top Fueler.
Yeah, how about that? You get to talk to me again, Doug Herbert, but you're going to need more than a 5.02 no matter who wins this next matchup.
Oh, I guarantee you that. It spun the tires pretty hard out there in the middle, and we're pretty lucky to get by that round. Today's my anniversary, and my little buddy Billy Williams has been in the hospital in a coma for a month and a half, and he's getting his eyes open, so maybe if we can win this race, that'll get him going.
Just over Doug's shoulder in the background, you see Don Sasenka, and they'll be towing home, but certainly thrilled with their performance.
Absolutely. Back at the starting line, Larry Dixon and Kenny Bernstein, they've met up a couple of times so far in 2002, both in the finals at Pomona where Dixon won and at Gainesville where Dixon won that one as well. This is a big round for KB. He's got to cut into the points lead.
Yeah, he definitely needs this win. And, you know, Johnny West mentioned that they were trying to run 270 mile an hour in the 8th mile. Now, what that means is these cars, where they make the most DT on a good track from a bad track, is from 200 feet to that 8th mile. So that 8th mile speed is always a very good indication of what the track will hold. I'm very surprised, though, that they were trying to run 270. But if anybody can do it, it's one of these two cars.
You can see there the winds by lane, 8-5, favoring the right. And remember, the sun is out, the track temperature is soaring, and these guys are wondering what is going to happen because this is the warmest it's been all weekend. Almost dead even off the line. Bernstein's up in smoke. And the Miller car, Larry Dixon, 463 at 317, and Dick LaHaye figured it out.
Boy, Larry Dixon and Dick LaHaye have really got this tire figured out. Here in the middle, they didn't run 270, but they did go 267. Dick LaHaye knows how much horsepower. He knows how to read a racetrack. Tim Richards and Kenny Bernstein, on the other hand, they tried to get a little bit aggressive there through the middle, like we talked about. A couple hundred feet out, the track wouldn't hold it, spun the tires. Here we go, Larry Dixon. Nice, smooth run, no tire shake. Just enough horsepower, just enough clutch application to keep all 8 cylinders lit, and that's the key. 267 in the 8th. Great run on the other end.
And if Dick doesn't look like you guys got over center on that, just a nice, safe run.
That's all it was, you know, with the track temperature the way that it is. We wanted to be pretty cautious, and I mean, it was a nice, safe run, and we won. We're just tickled to no end about it.
It's an A to B race car.
With Don Sasenka. Don, what a fantastic weekend it's been for you.
For us, it was great. I mean, really, I really don't know how to act. Thanks to NHRA and their sponsors, Powerade, and I got to mention Ray Alley because, you know, I had the trouble with the car. You seen it backing up and the wheels were going in. Every run I was up there, he was looking over my shoulder. And the whole safety safari out here, and oh man, I just can't say enough about him, you know, really. And
proof that there's still room for the little guy in professional drag racing.
You're right, Bill. And son Joey's going to be going for his license tomorrow right here at the track. Here's the lane choice. Dixon over Herbert. Funny car when we come back. Time now for semifinals in funny car. First up, that is Tim Wilkerson against John Force. And you're looking into the cockpit. John clear in his eyes. He has been to 156 finals, 3 this year so far. Tim has a total of 5 final round appearances. His last final, though, was Columbus almost 3 years ago. Can he do it here?
he'd like nothing better than go back to another final round. You heard him mention that he's having a little bit of trouble getting that car consistent. They're just going to kind of go up there and try to run a 495. I think that's a good plan. If he can run that 495, you're going to have to make John Force have to beat you. That's the way to do it.
Force got that birthday present from his teammate last round. Up in tire smoke, and the birthday boy who turned 53 yesterday runs a 498 and is into his 157th career final. Bill?
Larry Dixon, 461, 462, 463.
Dick LaHaye and everybody on the middle of that car did a good job. It's just a whole new day. I mean, the sun's back out. I mean, all the Star Wars is over. This is back to real life. And, Dick LaHaye, when it gets hot and humid, what can I say? I mean, I'm glad he's in our corner. It was a big round. I feel fortunate to be on this side of it.
They need every single point they can get against that red car.
Yeah, because they remember what happened when they went out in that first round. Let's go back to the starting line on this one.
Well, Tim Wilkerson did what he wanted. He was 300s quicker to the 330 right there, but then he starts spinning the tires. A little too aggressive. John Force ran a 498. Had Wilkerson been able to hook that up, he had a chance at beating him, but he spun the tires. But look at John Force. Down the racetrack, no tire shake, makes that transition where they've been getting in trouble. Got to remember, the track is hotter and greasier. It's not going to take as much as you could the run before. This was a nice pass by John Force.
Let's go on board with John. Boy, that one was nice and smooth. Let's go to Bill.
John Force, that one was a little bit better than the last one.
I was reading a little letter from an orchestra called BHS out there, and they were learning about me being motivated. Maybe I learned a little bit from those guys about being motivated, but when you race Wilkerson, you don't take him for granted. You get after him the best you can and hope you get through it. We like the heat. We were hoping for the heat, so see what happens.
Remember last year at this race, all three Force cars gone in round one.
Well, let's go to our other semifinal in funny car. Will it be Whit Bazemore? He's going for 2 in a row. Or will it be the defending champion, Frank Pedregon? These guys met in the semifinals last year, and Frankie beat Baze in a 492 to a 497 run. What's the track doing right now, Parker?
Well, Marty, it's 30 degrees hotter than we've seen all weekend long. The track temp 102 degrees, mid-70s in the outside air temperature. Fortunately, the humidity's down, but the density altitude, what the cars are experiencing, nearly twice as high as we've seen at well over 2,000 feet now.
Let me tell you about pressure right now. Lee Beard's feeling a little bit of that right now. It's a high horsepower race car. It's not afraid to go out there and try to go quick, but right now the conditions aren't quick. The car in the other lane, Jim Dunn, he's known for getting a car down a greasy racetrack.
Gonna be close. Win light for Bazemore. 496, 310 miles an hour, a 507 at 293 for Frank Pedregon. Bazemore avenges last year's semifinal loss to Frank right here at this track.
Let's watch this on replay. Frank Pedregon got a huge hole shot off the starting line. Had that look like he had that race won, but you can see there he starts putting cylinders out. Not really putting them out, but mixing them up just enough for Whit Bazemore to get by for the win.
Dave Reef?
Lee, you knew that one was a tough one to call for because Jim Dunn gets a car down a racetrack.
Well, our biggest concern was the sun come out on this racetrack, took the track temperature up pretty high. And we were adjusting our aero package, our clutch package, everything we could do to try to get that car down that racetrack.
Second final in a row.
Well, let's take a look at the intervals. 7/100ths of an advantage off the starting line. He was first at 60 feet and at 660, but at the finish line, Bazemore powers around him. And let's go to the far end to Bill.
Whit Bazemore, anybody who knows you knows that you got the matchup you wanted in the final round.
Yeah, I tell you what, though, first we had to get by a tough guy out there, Frankie, and I saw a whole lot of that car out there out the window, and that's something. But, yeah, I guess we have Force in the final, and what do we run here? 96, good. We got lane choice, and that's important. So we love racing Johnny. I mean, it's controlling our own destiny. That's key.
They want to show the champ what they got.
And Whit Bazemore into his 27th career final and second in a row. Remember, he won last time out at Bristol. There's the matchup, and you heard Whit. He knows he's got lane choice. Want to remind you that good buddy John Kern and the entire RPM Tonight crew is going to be live from Indianapolis at the Speedway all week. 6 o'clock, or I should say 6:30 Monday on ESPN2. And for more, log on to ESPN.com. Let's go to Dave Reed.
Yesterday, John Force turned 53 years of age, and while he's never won a national event on his birthday, he has won times at this very racetrack. Good-looking sticker behind you. And speaking of stickers and things, got a lot of gifts this weekend.
This was a birthday gift, and I really would like to take the time to thank the fans and the friends, and maybe even not some of the fans, some of the stuff I got, but they really care, and it's really just a nice thing to come out here, and they gave me a shirt with my daughter and I, so I've been wearing it.
2 words about Whit Bazemore.
Good man.
Let's get it on. Parker?
Well, Dave, Whit Bazemore's not looking for any presents. He wants to beat John Force head-to-head. Whit Bazemore's credentials are a mile long. He's qualified to drive this car. He's in great physical condition. He cycles hundreds of miles a week. But this is a mental game, isn't it, Whit?
Parker, it really is a mental game. And sometimes we wish it wasn't so much a mental game and more of a physical game, because then we might have an advantage over some of these guys. But it's a mental game, and I tell you what, Force is probably the best. I mean, the guy, very rarely does John Force make a mistake up on the starting line. Very, very rarely, and like once a year maybe. So, we know in order to beat them, we've got to go up there and be absolutely perfect. And we were perfect in the second round. We were less than perfect last round against Frankie. And, I've got to dig deep, and we just got to go out there and get the job done.
Finding the right tune-up on the chassis is at best hard. The driver's mind, probably the most difficult of all to get the right tune-up on.
Thanks, Parker. We've got to take a commercial break. There are some of the autographs being signed by John Smith at the Fram camp, Kenny Bernstein at his camp, Pro Stock, the factory hot rods, when we come back. Into Pro Stock semifinals, you're looking at Alan Johnson. This is an opportunity for Alan. He has 3 final round appearances, but his last was at Sears Point in the year 2000. Darrell Alderman, well, he's already won this year alone, and he's been to a bunch of finals in his career. The win light, Alan Johnson, 689 at 200 miles an hour. And this now guarantees a new NHRA record. We are going to have our 7th straight race from the start of the season with a new winner.
Boy, this is a great run. Alan Johnson from start to finish. Got the jump on Darrell, only about a little over 100th of a second, but then that horsepower on the other end, that was the difference. Good pass. Just look from down track. You're going to see cars got to keep them in the groove, just like the fuel cars. And Alan Johnson was on a string. That was perfectly down the middle of that lane.
And our other Pro Stock semifinal, will it be one of those 2 gentlemen, Greg Anderson or Jim Yates? Backing it up now, and Greg Anderson, the pole sitter here in the last 2 years. And if you go back to last year, in the final here, Yates beat Anderson when Greg fouled out. I'm sure that Greg remembers that vividly. And for Jim Yates, if you remember the last round, he beat Gene Wilson on a hole shot. That's his first hole shot victory since round 1 a year ago, right at this very racetrack. So some really bizarre things have been happening today.
Well, Greg Anderson's famous for hitting those 4.0 reaction times, but he does red light occasionally too. Jim Yates, on the other hand, has been real bad on the light, but this race he's been stellar. He's been hitting those numbers pretty good. Let's see what happens.
Anderson by 3/100ths off the line. And Greg Anderson's going to the final with a 686 to a 689. And Greg Anderson now going to his 7th career final.
This was Greg Anderson all the way. 300ths off the reaction time. Talked about Jim. He had a bad light that time, a 490. Greg Anderson, a 460, though. And then just that horsepower right down through the middle. 201 miles an hour on the other end. That's a good run for the heat of the day.
Let's go to Bill Stevens.
Alan Johnson goes to his first final since Sonoma 2 years ago. Now, do you remember what to do in a final round?
I think so. It's been a long, hard couple of years here, getting our engine program on the road. But got the best team in the pits, best engine builder, my dad. Awesome.
We got a couple of real thieves at the starting line coming up in this Pro Stock final.
It's going to be interesting, that's for sure. I can't believe how many different winners we are racking up. Pro Stock Bike first semifinal. Matt Hines, John Smith coming to the line right now. And Matt Hines closest to you in that right-hand lane. Of course, the 3-time champion. But he's looking to go to his first final since Englishtown of last year.
You know, Matt Hines has to rate the edge here, but, you know, John Smith took out Antron Brown on that hole shot, and he may need that again here to take out Matt Hines because Matt's got some serious horsepower.
And John hasn't been to a final since Indy of 2000. John Smith, 4 100s off the line. But here comes that Vance and Hines horsepower, a 717. Again, 182 miles an hour. Matt Hines is going to the finals over John Smith's 731. Let's go to the far end, Bill.
And Greg Anderson is going to the final round in Atlanta again. And it got away from you last time there, sir.
Yes, they did. It got away, and I do remember that right now. Yes, I do. I love this place, though. You know, my car's flawless here. I can't say enough about Pat Barrett, Mike Stryker, and my car owner, Ken Black. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Yeah!
Remember last year when he went to the final, he was in Troy Humphrey's Pontiac that probably had more miles on it than a New York taxi cab.
Yeah, and this year it's that new Cavalier with a Frank Iaconio power plant. Next up, it's going to be Sean Gann and Angelle Savoie. The other semifinal in Pro Stock Bike, there is Angelle. She'll be over in the right-hand lane. She's 6 up, 2 down over Sean, and is looking to go to her 37th career final. Gann has already lit the top bulb.
Yeah, he's playing some games there, trying to put the pressure on Angelle, but you know, she's a 2-time champion. I don't think she's going to fall for that, but this is an even matchup. I mean, Sean Gann's right behind her in elapsed time on both rounds. He's been leaving pretty good on the lights. He's going to have to, hopefully, you know, be able to do his job, cut a good light, and Angelle's going to want to do the same thing. This is a great matchup.
Stripe 7:15. Angelle Savoie is going to the finals for the first time with her new CVEC sponsor.
7:15. Good job. Good job. He won a 20.
You heard the crew telling her that Sean ran a 7:20 at 186. So it'll be Angelle Savoie and Matt Hines, and Angelle has the lane choice by 2 100s. Stay with us. We're coming back. Going on in Pro Stock Bike. Let's check in with Bill Stevens.
Matt Hines runs 7:17, and you're going to the final round, a race that you won back in 1998, but you're going to need a couple of hundreds maybe for the other bike there.
So far, the weekend's been going great. You know, it's been a long time since we've been to the final round. I haven't won a race since Englishtown last year, and I really like not to go more than a year without winning. So if we could pull it out in the final, that'd be just awesome.
Let's review and discuss what's happened with Angelle Savoie this weekend. New sponsor. She's got everybody from CVEC here, qualified number 1, and you got Matt Hines in the final.
It's just like the old days. He usually brings out the best in us. I think that Vance and Hines is one of the reasons why my team's so good. So, I mean, you can't ask for a better weekend than number 1 qualifier and going to the finals, except for maybe getting the CVEC Suzuki in the winner's circle. We'll see what we can do.
And it would be her 3rd trip to the Atlanta winner's circle if she doesn't.
A big weekend for Doug Herbert. His first final since Pomona last year. And Doug, you're up against the toughest car in Top Fuel, that blue Miller car. Do you treat it any differently going into this final round?
Well, they're stout, and Dixon's a good driver, and LaHaye's doing a heck of a job over there. I wish he did that when he worked for me. I think I can dig down a little bit deeper inside and pull something out for these guys.
They've got a good friend, Billy Williams, former alcohol champion that's in the hospital. He said a win today might do miraculous things for him.
Oh, I think old Billy would jump out of his bed. He's been in a coma for about 6 weeks, and that'd be something to, I think that'd get him going.
A driver with a lot on his mind, a friend in the hospital, but today is Doug Herbert's and his wife Sunny's anniversary. And I tell you, for a racing family, there's no better present than an event win. Marty?
All right, thanks, Parker. We're ready to go to break. Yeah, that nitromethane can burn the eyes, and it also can wreck your eardrums. Plug them up, fellas. We're coming back. Stay with us. Time now for the finals in Pro Stock Bike. It'll be Matt Hines, the number 2 qualifier, against the number 1 qualifier and track record holder at a 7:11, Angelle Savoie. And this is going to be interesting. Between the two of them, they have 5 championships. Matt has 28 wins. Angelle has 22. They've met 17 times in finals. Matt has won 10 of them. And don't be surprised if you see a red light. These guys get aggressive with each other.
Yeah, the competition is so high. You're going to see it definitely happen on the starting line, whether it is a red light or even a hole shot, Marty.
Dave Reef?
Regardless, though, what a great weekend for Angel Savoie, debuting that new sponsor, CVEC. The 7-11 she ran in round number 1, the 6th quickest path in Pro Stock bike history. She's track record holder. Everything is on her plate. All she needs to do is get a good light.
Perfect light for Matt, the 4:02 for Angel. It's a drag race. At the stripe, the win light to Angel. 7:16 to a 7:18. She drove around him. See if they talk on the radio.
You did it! You did it! Did I win? Tell me I won. Smoke the tire and you still beat it.
She didn't know she had won.
Wow, this is an unbelievable race. Perfect light for Angel. You see her, she starts to roll the bike a little bit before the light come on. Hit that four. She was 1/1000th off being a red light. If that bike would have rolled another half inch, she would have got a red light. Matt Hines, 4:02, he was right there. Watch this on slow motion. She rolled the bike a little bit on the start. Watch it, pick the front end up. She's got that handlebar turned to the, front wheel turned to the right a little bit, brings her back down right in the middle. She's been having some trouble making this transition from the concrete to the asphalt. Let's see how it does there. Yep, got that little sachet, but not as bad as we've seen in the past. Still spun the tires a little bit at the beginning, slowed her down a little bit, but it was still enough to get the win. A great race.
And with the win, she takes over the points lead by 9 over Craig Treble. Matt Hines moves into third, 82 points behind. She now has career victory number 23. We'll talk to her in just a moment. First off, it's Pro Stock time. Number 1 qualifier, Greg Anderson. He's going to go up against the number 3 qualifier, Alan Johnson. And remember, this is big for Anderson. Last year, he red-lighted a chance at victory away against Jim Yates. He remembered it. You heard him talk about it. For Alan Johnson, well, his only win was 1999 in Richmond. As Greg Anderson fades, is our 7th different winner in 7 races, a new NHRA Powerade drag racing record, a 690 at 200 miles an hour, Dave Reef.
Down with Father Roy Johnson. How big a win is that?
That's just great, great.
You're almost speechless.
Yeah, I don't know what to say.
It's been that kind of day, but with all the trials and tribulations, can you put words with it?
Well, we just worked so hard after they took our wedge motor away from us that we had going, and I'm just glad that we beat the factory team as we come through. I hate Greg had bad luck, but he had us covered, so we just did the best we can do.
You are champions today.
Thank you.
Down to Bill.
Angel Savoie, I can't remember the last time you had such a perfect weekend. Did I say perfect? Matt Hines had a perfect reaction time. You had a 4:02 and beat him.
You know, Start Racing has always been the most awesome team I could ever ask to be with. Now I have one of the most awesome sponsors, CVEC Racing and Gary Cornwell. I know he's smiling big, but you know what? I spun the tire so hard the bike went sideways on the starting line, and I couldn't believe that we won. And I was saying, I don't know how we won, but I do know how we won. My husband gave me a sticker on my bike that says, "Believe with God, all things are possible." And you wouldn't believe the prayers I had for me this weekend.
Can I hear an amen?
Angel Savoie, as we now go back and get ready for Funny Car. And there is John Force, the 11-time champion in the left lane. Whit Bazemore over in the right lane. While they back up, let's go to the far end again with Bill.
Well, back from the land of the lost is Alan Johnson. Congratulations.
Oh, man, what a team. What a team. We've struggled for so long. This feels so good. You don't even know. Thanks to my crew, my dad, most of all. It's all the help we got this year. So we're on our own nickel. We're on our own time. Got one of the most awesome teams out here. Get through the curves we had the last couple of years and come back with this power and, a little luck. And everything went right down the racetrack. It was awesome. What did we run? I don't even know.
Doesn't matter. Take that trophy, young man.
Well, there are rivalries, and then there are rivalries. Force and Bazemore. Lee Baird, crew chief for Bazemore, said it's going to take a high 8, a low 9. Whit Bazemore, normally fairly low-key, fairly relaxed. He is absolutely amped. He was pacing back and forth before he climbed in the car back in the staging lanes like a caged animal. The stage is set for a great race.
Well, Bazemore has met Force in the finals 5 times. He's only won 1 of them. That was at the fall race at Joliet. It's showdown time one more time. And in the points chase, well, it's big because Bazemore can move into third in the points within 93 of John with a win. And Bazemore does it. He runs a 4.96, 310 miles an hour. Look at the celebration 2 weeks in a row. The Matco Tools team has gone to victory lane, Dave Reed.
Lee, can you tell us what 2 weeks in a row feels like, and especially beating Force in that final?
Well, you know, that's what this team's all about. We were formed and established to run down that Castrol team and John Force's organization. They're still the best in the business, but we're trying our damnedest to beat them.
You're doing a very good job, might I say.
And with that win, Bazemore ties Billy Meyer for 11th all-time. He now has 12, and he is breathing again at the far end and immediately heads over to John Force's camp. And let's take another look.
Well, John Force had almost 400s off the starting line. It wasn't enough. You're going to see John go over there, had a cylinder out, pushed him over towards the wall. That was pretty much the end of his day. Whit Bazemore was nice and clean. Set that thing up, 496, right down the middle of the track. Here we see over here, cylinder out for John Force, and that's what cost him the race. Let's see if it rattled the tires or did anything before. Now, if the cylinder was out almost at the hit of the throttle, you could see it right there and just really killed the run.
Mike, you know the other thing? Remember last week at Bristol? Lee Beer was blowing up motors left and right to win that race. This week, they've been running clean, and that is big.
Yeah, that's great. You know, when you're out there blowing up engines, it's not a good thing, but at least they were winning, so that's not such a bad thing either.
John Force's lead, 81 over Gary Dencham. Whit Bazemore moves into third from 6th. Let's go to Bill.
Things are beginning to change in the funny car class with Bazemore.
Well, don't go there yet because it's a long damn year, but I tell you what a trying day for this team. You know, the guys overcame a lot of little things in the pit area, and man, Beard and Zippy and Ronnie made a perfect call up there, and I don't even know what we ran, don't know what John did, but it was
96.
We ran 96. What did John do?
You got enough to beat him.
Okay, well, that's all that matters, but you know, I think we're off. The whole team's just mentally exhausted. We were talking about it. Zippy said, man, I can't wait till this is over. I'm going to bed right away. And I think, where's Michelle, my wife? I think we're going to go take a little nap, too. We're just drained. But what a great win for the team.
The top fuel.
Back at the starting line, you're looking into the eyes of Larry Dixon. He has been to the he's been owning the finals. I mean, we've had 7 races. This is his 6th final. Can he win for the 5th time this year?
You know, Johnny West here, they spun the tires the run before. The trick here, the track is going to be hot. They're going to have to back that car down to get through the middle of the course and not put a cylinder out like we saw John Force do. That's the problem. You take clutch away, takes load away, wants to drop a cylinder. If it does that, it's not going to run quick enough to beat Larry Dixon.
That was Doug Herbert's wife, Sonny. He has 6 career wins, wants to make it number 7. Dixon going for number 21. Dixon does it. 463, 318 miles an hour. Doug Herbert goes up in smoke, Dave Reed.
Like the ultimate gamble. I'll tell you what, they can start calling this guy the gambler, because today, without a dominant race car like we've seen in other times, he knows when to hold them and he knows when to fold them, and today you guys folded the field again.
I'm almost speechless. I mean, we are so blessed with this combination that we've been given. I mean, it's it amazes me that this car does it in the heat of the day and runs numbers like that. And Larry does a heck of a job driving, and the crew is just fantastic. I mean, I just thank the God, Lord. I mean, my God.
To Parker Johnson.
Snake, you had a difficult weekend with your funny car team, but it all came right with Larry Dixon and Dick LaHaye one morning.
Absolutely right. Yeah, the car's just been hauling, you know, and I like to thank the fab shop and all the guys in the engine shop. We don't have a fab shop or an engine shop, but I love Winston Cup, and that's what they always say. So it's really cool. Dixon's doing a hell of a job, and I'm just thrilled with the whole Miller Lite team and all the Skoll guys, too. You know, we're going to get those babies going, too.
Nothing better than a happy team owner. Bill?
Larry Dixon, nobody has ever told a top fuel driver they won 5 out of the first 7 races of a championship season.
I hope you can tell me that at the end of the season. You know, it's just
man, what a ride we've had, with Miller Lite. Yeah, everybody on the team, we struggled a lot during qualifying. Had a lot of freak things happen to us, and nobody lost their head, and we just kind of kept going along. Got a lucky round here and there and stuff like that. Doug Coletta, that was a round of the day, and I can't say enough for everybody. Miller Lite, Mac Tools, Lucas, Skoll. They're on the car. Ray Bestis, Goodyear tires. As soon as that sun comes out, Dick LaHaye knows how to tune them cars up. So I'm thankful he's on our team. Thank you.
He got past Doug Coletta, and let's not forget Kenny Bernstein in the semis.
And Kenny Bernstein is now 162 points behind Larry Dixon. Corey Mack in third. Tony Schumacher and Doug Coletta round out the top 5. Take one more look at slow-mo on Larry Dixon's run.
I don't think we're going to see too much wrong with this run for this time of day. That's about a perfect call. No tire shake whatsoever at the early part of the run where you see it. Watch him when he makes a transition off the concrete onto the asphalt right there. A little bit of a bump, but the tire's still stuck. Nice and clean to the finish line. Another good win for Team Miller.
Look at Bazemore's team celebrating. One other points update. We didn't tell you about Pro Stock. Warren Johnson leads Jim Yates by only 47. Can you believe the action we had today? It was worth the wait.